G'day there guys, life is like a box of chocolates, and I feel like I'm that gross dark chocolate with the orange in the middle. It's Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you enjoyed today's episode, give this video a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't. Enjoy the show. Posted by user NipanWapayip, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my 8-year-old he can't go trick-or-treating with his sisters? I have 3 kids. A 10-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old son, and an almost 7-year-old daughter. My son is on the autism spectrum, but is very high functioning. Lately, he's been very mean, but mostly to his younger sister. It's been going on for a few months, and we've talked about it with his therapist, discussed it alone with him, giving him a lot of one-on-one time. We've tried everything, thinking maybe it's because he's jealous of no longer being the baby. This morning, I heard my 7-year-old crying bloody murder, and when I went upstairs to her bedroom, I see my son with scissors, and my daughter's costume that we made together as a project was all cut up to pieces. I comforted my daughter, made him apologize, and brought him downstairs. My husband and I asked him why he would do that, and he said, "It was ugly and I didn't like it." I told him that was the meanest thing he's done, and that he's grounded and can't go trick-or-treating. He completely freaked out, had a tantrum, kicked and screamed, and we just put a pillow under his head until he stopped and got our other kids ready for school. While we were getting the girls ready, I guess he called my mother and told her that we weren't letting him go trick-or-treating, and she called me, yelling about how could I do that to our child, and he has autism, and he didn't know what he was doing. My husband thinks maybe we also overreacted, and we should let him earn the chance to go trick-or-treating, but he completely destroyed his sister's costume, and that's not something we can brush off. Am I the a-hole for not budging? I don't think just because he has autism he doesn't realize what he did. I honestly think he's completely aware of what he's done, because he did tell you, "Oh, it's ugly, I didn't like it." That's no excuse for destroying the dress. He still has self-control, he still chose to do it. He's gonna get a consequence of his action. It's gonna be the dead horse we keep beating in this sub. Wow, imagine being punished when I did something wrong. Just terrible, that thought, isn't it? Imagine having to learn from my mistakes. Crazy. God, doesn't the world suck when we have to report the parents to their parents for punishing me? How dare they? You guys are the parents here. You guys are calling the shots, and I think you're doing a good job of it. I don't think you should budge, and I don't think he should be allowed to go trick-or-treating. Edits. My husband and I have decided he will not be trick-or-treating. He has shown no remorse throughout the day. We are going to discuss this with his therapist when we see her later today. But this malicious behavior is not going to be tolerated, and I will not coddle my son to be a crappy person and man. Thank you all for your responses. Not the a-hole. I'm HFA, and if I'd done anything like this, I'd have had my ass whooped. Regardless of the autism factor, he knows what he did and he deserves that punishment. This is how HFA people end up as a-holes. I mean, any child who wasn't given an appropriate consequence for an action like this will end up an a-hole, but if they specifically didn't discipline him because he has autism, he will grow up knowing he can get away with stuff and blame his disability. Autism or not, if he understood his actions and understands the consequence, he should be disciplined. Came here to say basically this: autistic children are like any other children. They will test boundaries to see what they can and can't get away with, and if they never face consequences for their actions, they will turn into monsters. There was a kid with HFA at my school, and he had never been given any discipline. I know that, as I'd known him since I was a baby, and our families knew each other. He insulted and threatened people constantly, made racist and rude remarks and pinned people against the wall and choked them. And he got away with all of it. Discipline your kids with reason, folks. I know myself I had a kid like that at least in grade 5, might have been grade 4 as well for me. He was exactly the same like that. He would be chucking chairs around the class, screaming and swearing bloody murder at my teacher. Tackling kids in class, abusing them, punching them, who knows what. And every time it was just like, okay, we're just going to leave the classroom and we're just going to let him rampage until someone comes and gets him. Really weird that he was never really disciplined for that, but I guess there's a reason why one day he just disappeared and that was it. Life goes on. Not the a-hole. Autism is not an excuse to behave badly and be cruel, and you are teaching him that. What he did was absolutely unacceptable, and he is learning that there are consequences to the things he chooses to do. Stay strong, Mama. You are raising him to be better. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my 8-year-old son he can't go trick-or-treating with his sisters? I've had people message me over the course of the last couple of weeks asking for an update. Enough so that I decided to just make an updated post. My daughter, whose costume got destroyed, got to pick out whatever she wanted at the Halloween store, and she had a blast. I stuck by my decision to have my son stay home, explaining to him very carefully why. My husband took our daughter out while he stayed home with us. He helped hand out candy, we watched Goosebumps, which he thinks is the greatest horror movie of all time, and I think he enjoyed Halloween despite his punishment. In regards to him being mean to his little sister, we brought it up to his therapist that he cut up her costume, and she said we did the right thing by not allowing him to go trick-or-treating, and that we showed my daughter that her feelings matter. She also suggested we bring my daughters, specifically my youngest, to therapy with him, and maybe they can hash it out in a non-biased environment. I started doing that the following appointment, and I think it's slowly working. His birthday is coming up on the 27th of November, so we think perhaps maybe have a Halloween-themed party and go trick-or-treating in our house. So, kind of a boring update, but it was asked for, so... Edit. Sorry mods, I hope this is okay. His birthday party was just an idea, but you're all right. That would show his punishment was temporary, and his actions don't have consequences. My son is not a monster despite some messages saying that he is. I want all my children to be loved and thrive as happy and compassionate people. I know you're not asking for advice, but I wouldn't make it Halloween themed. He lost his chance at Halloween with what he did. He shouldn't get a do-over. That's the consequence of what he did. He'll just have to wait until next year. Any update on how your mother, the grandmother, reacted once she found out the truth? Also, were you able to set boundaries with her? His grandmother is well aware where she stands as far as parenting my child, and putting her nose in my parenting. We had a long chat. My mother-in-law excused my brother-in-law's behavior his entire life with the, he has autism, it's not his fault. Now he's still high-functioning, but also a bit of a sociopath, and she still excuses him. Good for you for nipping this in the bud. My mum works at a special needs school, and so many kids had parents who didn't set boundaries when they were kids, and then when they're 14 plus, they start seriously harming other students and teachers. It might be hard to be strict, but it's empirical. He needs it now more than ever to be taught what is right and wrong. The children at my mum's school who have been shown boundaries and rules early on are true angels. Your son just needs to be guided on the right direction by you. Good luck. Not that it exists or that you need it. Posted by user Grudge, titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to grow up? I am 28 male and my sister is 25 female. We did not get along as kids. She was the typical annoying little sister and I was the mean older brother. I teased her a lot growing up, but I did my best to make sure that if I did tease her, or if we did have a fight, that I said sorry or made her feel like I didn't mean any of it. I never wanted her to go to bed thinking we were not on good terms. She moved out when I was 22 and she was 19. I went to her farewell party and I really thought we were good. I never apologized for what I did, but I was proud of her for going to college. We stayed in contact about once a month, just saying how our lives are going. We weren't close, but we weren't pushing it, and I enjoyed seeing her tell me what's going on in her life. She came back for Thanksgiving when I was 23 and she was 20, and it went well. I saw her in person like one more time at Christmas when I was 25 and she was 22. I didn't go to any family holidays on my side for like 3 years since I got really serious with my significant other. We got engaged 2 months ago, and I went to her family's places for those holidays since we lived closer. Yesterday was my dad's birthday, and I haven't seen him in person for a few years, so I spent quite a bit in money to have me and my significant other fly down to their house and stay the week. My sister was there too. I was happy to see her in person again and have her meet my significant other. The whole party was fine, and I know my parents were happy that both their kids were together in their house again. At night, when my parents went to bed, I was having a drink with my sister when my significant other was going to the store for breakfast material. The subject of our past years somehow came up. I told her I feel bad and I'm sorry for any troubles I gave her during that time. I could tell she was kinda miffed, and I don't know if it was the alcohol talking, but she basically said that once our parents die, she doesn't want much to do with me because of how much of an ass I was when we were kids. I was shocked when she said that, because I thought we both moved on from that and thought that we had a loving and caring, yet distant relationship. I didn't even know what to say. I was and am heartbroken because I do love her and always wanted us to at least be caring towards each other. But she basically said she has no desire to do much with me, which kinda hurts. I finally got it out and said, what we did as kids was years ago, and if you're still on about that, then you just need to grow up. I'm sorry how I treated you, but it shouldn't be the basis of why you hate me now. She didn't say anything after that, but, you done? And then went to bed. The next day she talked to me like nothing happened. I was weirded out by that, but didn't want to make a scene in front of our parents, who still have the view of us being close. So Reddit, I ask you, am I the a-hole for telling my sister to grow up after she's holding on to grudges that have to be like 10 plus years old? Your big problem here is that you're telling her to grow up when you could be the bigger man and apologize, and you could have just talked it out and discussed why you're feeling what you're feeling. Instead, you say, hey, suck it up, beer, little woman. This is years ago. We're cool now, right? I'm sorry how I treated you, but come on, you shouldn't hate me now. This is a big apology, isn't it? That's basically how I imagine your apology went, so I'm really not believing that you were genuine about it and you're just trying to sweep it all under the rug and be like, just forget about it. It's not that bad. You're the a-hole for this. Try better next time. You're the a-hole. You were a dick to your sister for years. Your sister tells you she doesn't want to be around you because you were such a dick. You make a total dick comment to her immediately after that, and then you post on Reddit, wondering if you were a dick. I bet there's a lot more going on here that we don't see. This story seems to try to write off you as the good guy, but you sound like a complete, say it with me, dick. I have a good feeling that if we ask the sister's side, there would be more to this story. You're the a-hole. Maybe you were more of a dick to her than you thought. My older brother routinely called me fat when we were kids, up until I went crying to my parents about it. He was floored when he realized how much that was actually fudging with my head. He still calls me selfish and uncaring as a quote-unquote joke, but it really screws with my self-esteem. And while I don't want to cut him out of my life, yet, I do have some resentment towards him because I told him to stop and he didn't. Telling him repeatedly to stop should have done it, but it didn't. Why? He enjoyed the reaction, and that still pisses me off. It shouldn't be the basis of why you hate me now. Why not? Your apology, quite frankly, sucked, as you basically told her that she was being a baby about this, and that she needed to grow up. If she feels that you were such a douche when you were kids that she no longer wants to speak with you now, who are you to get defensive and tell her that she's being a baby while you apologize? Seriously, that's a bad apology. I mean, no one's obligated to like anyone else. And OP says, I know no one's obligated, but I just think that her reasoning is very childish. This person then deleted their response to that, and OP says, I honestly don't think I was that bad. Sure, we had some pretty nasty fights growing up, but who doesn't? I never tormented her and always showed her support where I could as a teen. But me teasing her was probably interpreted to her differently. If you want our ability to judge more fairly, perhaps ask your sister to write here or make her own post explaining, and we can more accurately judge whether it's childish or not. I'll try and see if she will do that. I don't know. I'm honestly at a loss for words on how I had no idea she was that mad at me. I mean, people who like each other usually keep contact. That was a good hint, to be honest. My brother and me are distant, and there was a time I knew I would generally feel nothing if I got the call that he died. but his active attempt at apologizing and reconciliation made me give him a chance, and we talk every 3 months. I'll never trust him, because guess what? Making sure we're on the same page means nothing when that page is, I'll keep being crappy to you, and my sorry means nothing because I'll be crappy to you whenever I want. But I also know he's at least trying. You, on the other hand, sound like you went, just kidding, we good? And then screwed off with no contact for years. How are you surprised you're not considered relevant to her life when you've done nothing to be in it? If anything, you've been doing everything to make her believe you don't give a flying F about her. And OP replies, we text each other about once a week and call each other once a month. I just haven't seen her in person for a couple of years. Info. How bad was the teasing? Did it ever get physical? Did you embarrass her at school? Sure, OP, you may have saw her as the annoying little sister, but she could have looked up to you and felt bullied by her older brother her whole life if the teasing was constant. The teasing wasn't that bad. More like dad teasing, if anything. Like, if she was doing something odd, I'd give her a weird look and then smile, or I'd annoy her while she was eating something. Just very petty and dumb child stuff. Our fights never got physical. I never hit her. I did not hit her. It's bullshit. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. We play fought when we were younger, but that's it. I would have never teased her at school. All of my teasing was done in the confines of our own home when it was either just us home or our parents and us. God, I hope she didn't see me as a bully as a kid. I always wanted to have that teasing but caring older brother relationship with her. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to grow up? Update. So this has a really happy ending. A day or two later, after she blew up on me, I told her to grow up. Me and her had another sit down and I just listened. Turns out she hated how I was never there for her. I will admit I wasn't. I just left the state as soon as I could and didn't even try and come back other than for holidays. She also said that she wishes that I called her more. She would text me on social media and would call me, but it wasn't that 1 week thing, so I just didn't answer. I felt terrible. Most of y'all said I was the a-hole and I should just hear what she has to say and apologize, and I could tell she was tearing up, so I did something I hadn't done since we were children. I just flat out hugged her and let her cry on me. At the end of it, I apologized and promised to do a better job, but to please give me another chance to be a good brother. She agreed to that. For the past month, I text her every other day and call weekly. It's effort and it's actually working. I won't say we are as close as we were as kids, but it's good and I enjoy talking to her now. And it's cool to know stuff about her so we can coordinate stuff for our parents without having them to stress about anything. I'm currently in town for Thanksgiving, and she and her significant other have been very generous to allow me and my significant other to stay at her place for the week we are here. Thank you all for the comments and calling me the a-hole for being so petty to my sister. Pretty much saved the relationship. Edit to add, the reason they never heard from me for 5 years is because I was an addict and they kicked me out. I was hurt and scared and hated my parents because of it, and I grouped my sister into them. About 5 years later, I realized how much of a spoiled ass I was, and I reconnected with them. My parents were happy, but my sister wasn't, but I was able to talk her into giving me another chance, and now we're pretty good. Not gonna lie, my eyes bugged out of my head when I read the first post and you said you haven't seen your sister in years and that you never go to family holidays because you got close with your significant other. Just for the record, people usually don't ditch their families for years unless they hate them. I can see why your sister was extremely offended. My brother did this. We didn't see him for 7 years and he wasn't 30 minutes away. Turns out he was miserable. When my husband saw him in a store one day and told him everyone missed him and would welcome him back with open arms, he left her and came back. If your significant other is keeping you from family and your family aren't bad people, you should worry. My significant other asked me on numerous occasions to go visit my family. I was just in a dumb, angry state of mind. Ironically, having told your sister to grow up, it sounds like you've done a fair bit of reflection yourself. Kudos for that. I hope your relationship with your sister continues to get better, and you continue to learn and grow. It's okay to be mad about the things that put you in circumstances, but she isn't responsible for that. I know it was not her fault at all. I was a dumb, hurt person who grouped her in with my parents at the time, because at the time, she was just a kid, only 15 years old, while I was 18 and being kicked out. It's all good now, and I don't hate my parents at all. Hell, I wish I was nicer to her. I can't remember a single time in our childhood where she went actively out of her way to fight or start any conflict with me. I teased her a bit, and she has told me over and over how it wasn't bad at all, and it was more of dad joke teasing. I still feel bad that I did that, because in all honesty, she was a great little sister. And also OP says, not gonna lie, I hated my parents for a bit. They kicked me out at 17 because I was a pseudo-addict, and I had to pay my way through rehab and went into terrible debt as a young adult. I am better now though. What's a pseudo-addict? I thought you meant an addiction to pseudoephedrine. I'm clueless as to drug addiction. Okay, and I think that's where we're going to end today's episode, guys. As always, I do hope you enjoyed it, and maybe even learned something from these stories. Just want to say a quick shout out to my Patreon subscribers and my channel members. You guys should be on the screen right now. If you do see yourself, I want you to give yourself a little pat on the back for being amazing and supporting me on this channel, this little journey we're going on the YouTubes. I really appreciate it, and you guys enabled me to do all this amazing work. So if you do see yourself, I love your face and I'm happy to see you. Also guys, if you want to pitch in your own support, you don't have to, but channel links are down in the description below to support the Patreon, the channel membership, whatever you want to do. It's kind of like tipping me if you feel like I'm doing a good job on this channel. I will be opening up avenues for content on those in the future. Just right now I'm kind of bogged down and stuck in Ireland, but you know, it is what it is. Anyway, guys, with that said, I do hope you have a wonderful day today. Whatever you're up to, I'd love to know down in the comments below. I do hope you have a good day, night, sleep. Whatever you're up to today, tell me, and I'll see you in the next episode, guys. Bye.